Today we're going to discuss again Kriya Yoga meditation according to Yogi Ramaiah tradition. And what is special about Yogi Ramaiah? That he was a direct disciple of actually number of immortal Himalayan masters, and of course his main guru was Mahavtar Babaji, but the interesting thing is that also he received instructions on meditation and Bija mantra tradition from Gorakhnath Babaji and Nagaraj Babaji, and okay, in a sense we know that he met some other masters while staying in Himalayas, and it's like always few confusions about Kriya Yoga, and we have to be conscious enough, spiritual enough to be able to notice that confusions and to have enough sense of humor to be happy about it, to laugh about it, and one of them is the huge question: who is really a direct disciple of Mahavtar Babaji and other immortals, and who are just just pretending and creating the stories just to attract more disciples. And another nice and funny and childish question is which Kriya Yoga tradition is genuine one, which is the best one, like that. And because we can be sure that Kriya Yoga tradition is extremely ancient one, so we know that even Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra is mentioning about this, and Vijñāna Bhairav Tantra is giving us message actually about Kriya Yoga. And in some chapters in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, or better to say Vyasadeva, mentioning about Kriya Yoga, especially is the end of fourth, fifth chapters, like some mentioning is about this. And it is not reason to be confused about the fact that we have so many kinds of Kriya Yoga traditions. It's not reason to worry about it. That's natural, because if tradition exists for thousands of years, it must be many kinds of that. Apart from this, even in 19th and 20th century, we have so many stories, real stories, and the facts when Himalayan masters could initiate this or that disciple into slightly different kinds of Kriya Yoga meditation. And of course, when we speak about Kriya Yoga, there are some fundamental things like we are working with Kichari Mudra, the special position of the tongue. We are working with chakras, etc. And also all that techniques are just techniques. They're just tools. And the main question is the purpose. And I believe that the main purpose is self-inquiry. But that's not only the reason why we have Kriya Yoga techniques. And just recently it was a kind of chance for me to have satsang here in South Florida, and just we discussed there are many levels for the Kriya Yoga. In a sense, there are many levels how we can understand the purpose of Kriya Yoga. And a very simple one, actually not spiritual at all. They are just if you wish to be free from depression, stress management, fears, worries, all the kind of, just problems of the mind. Yeah, any kind of meditation, and especially Kriya Yoga, may help. And then I have a lot of real stories that this or that kind of Kriya Yoga meditation may improve your health. I mean, self-healing. Kriya Yoga is a huge for the self-healing purpose. Just, okay. So it means emotional, state of mind, physical health. Then, for example, because we are practicing meditation, which involve, which is, also may help us to develop brain, develop, our ability to concentrate, to think. That it means the person who is practicing Kriya Yoga meditation just better manager. Just all kinds of decision making is much greater, because if you stay in a peace of mind, emotional balance, you are able to concentrate. And naturally, if you have any kind of project, art, science, business, political, do all that kind of job, like decision making, much greater, much better than any other people in the office. So it's very practical, actually. But on the top is, of course, self-inquiry. Who am I? What is the nature of my self-existence? What is the nature of my consciousness? Or in a more biblical, Christian and a Jewish and Islamic way, what is the nature of my soul, my connection, relation with God? That's the main point of meditation. But I believe that even people who, let us say, not so interested in the spiritual stuff, they may practice meditation and benefit. And it sounds strange, but to practice meditation, you can be religious or not. You can believe in God or not. You may practice meditation anyway. And it's extremely, question, which is like a lot of people have a discussion, like, Patanjali Yoga Sutra is actually, do not mention God, actually. Some questionable terminology is there. For example, Ishvara Pranidhana means devotion to God. But, as you know pretty well, that the meaning of Ishvara Pranidhana is not only devotion to God, but just, devotion to that absolute consciousness, which is the foundation of your self-existence. So it means it's not like biblical or kind of God. So it means that, and that's the reason why people, when they try to understand the meaning of Yoga Sutra, also we have a huge discussion who was before, Patanjali or Buddha, because actually, but anyway, Patanjali was a South Indian mystic and Buddha was North Indian mystic. And it's not necessary that, some of them must be first and some of them must be second. They just, Buddha and Patanjali, and, they speak about self-inquiry and spirituality, and they're not mentioning about existence of God, creator, about necessity to build, to establish any connection with that God. Actually, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, or if you read Bible, your connection with God, that's the question number one. But if you read Buddhist scriptures or Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it's not the question at all, because that's the question of self-inquiry. And it means it's interesting that for the meditation, the greatest foundation, the greatest first step is the fact that you exist. That's the beginning. And I mean, you can't believe that some God exists also, but you may not. That's an interesting thing. But you have this self-existence. It means that's the beginning of self-inquiry. That's the beginning of meditation. And of course, when Yogananda came to the United States, mostly he was staying in like New York, Boston, then California, but here in South Florida he also spent time. And of course, for Yogananda and his main disciple Swami Kriyananda, of course, all that God and Bible and Bhagavad Gita is the pretty much important. But for the pure Kriya Yoga, important is consciousness, important is self-existence. And it doesn't mean that Kriya Yoga deny God, nothing like that. Kriya Yoga is after all bunch of tools. And okay, your question was like about Yogi Ramaiah, my guru, who was born 1923 and passed away 2006, and he was direct disciple of Mahadar Babaji and Gorakhnath Babaji and Nagaraj Babaji. And actually, we know about Yogi Ramaiah that he spent 50s and 60s in Himalayas, in the area of Badrinath, Kedarnath, and Satopant, all that places. And but it was 1968. I'm sorry, 1968. He immigrated to the United States. Then later on, he became citizen of the United States, and he established some small ashrams in New York City, and then bigger place in Arizona and California. And that's, he was working with a very small, limited group of people, disciples. And sometimes people ask me interesting question, how it was possible for me to meet him. And my story goes like, it was very easy. I did nothing and I done nothing to meet him. It just so happened that 1993, some group of people, my friends, they choose to go to India to some strange guru, Yogi Ramaiah, and I joined them, that's all. And actually I came to know, that was my first time in India, I came to know about, they gave me his picture, actually on the way. It was very easy. And when I came to his ashram in the south of India, it's like something like 400 kilometers south from Chennai, in a small village. So when I met him for the first time, it was a feeling that, okay, I know this person pretty well, and it was a feeling like back home, and I was immediately, he became his helper. And yes, that's the point, okay, that his system of Kriya Yoga and Bija Mantra, which he received from the masters, and some of that system, it's look like, and let me repeat that, we know something, but we don't know something else. We don't know all details, because Yogi Ramaiah was the guy who was easily could, tell you something and just not to tell something else. But we know that the part of his Kriya Yoga tradition, for sure, he received in 50s and 60s, so in the middle of 20th century. But at the same time, we know that he was in contact with the masters like Mahatar Babaji and Gorakhnath Babaji all his life. I mean, even we know some cases when the masters could appear in front of him here in the United States, just flash of light, some masters just in front of him, and some instructions about philosophy and techniques he received much later, like in 70s and 80s and possible even in 90s. And it means some of that techniques techniques of Kriya Yoga meditation and Bija Mantra tradition, he received from masters much later in his life. And that's interesting that now I'm just reading a couple of interesting books about great Russian mystics, Madame Blavatsky, and then George Gurdjieff, then Peter Ouspensky. And of course, it's a huge interesting stories. And for example, Blavatsky, she met some Himalayan masters really many times. Mahatma Maurya and Mahatma Kuthumi. And it was interesting then that Gurdjieff, years later, he also went to Tibet and spent really time there, and he became even monk, by the way, and he got married there. That itself was pretty strange, monk, then he got married, and two of his sons became lamas, and Gurdjieff, he met huge mystics in Tibet. And actually, it's a hidden story that, Gurdjieff, always we think about him as the Sufi mystic, but really his main source was not Sufi tradition, but Tibetan Buddhism. And but Gurdjieff didn't meet Mahatma Maurya and Kuthumi, but he wanted to meet them. And one of the reasons why he was disappointed with the Theosophical Society and Blavatsky teaching, because he wanted to meet Mahatmas, and it was somehow impossible for him. But actually he met some other great mystics, both Tantric Buddhist and Sufi mystics. And the same with Kriya Yoga masters. Some of them really met Mahadar Babaji, like Lahiri Baba, like Yogi Ramaiah, and some really bright gurus of Kriya Yoga tradition could not meet him, or could meet him just a couple of times. And that's also kind of confusing, because it's create a lot of rumors, speculations. But anyway, the complete set of techniques which I received from Yogi Ramaiah was 18 big meditation techniques and 144 Bija mantras, which are 7 sets, 7 parts, in 7 parts, better say. And he chose to teach this complete system, some of his disciples, but most of the disciples, they received from Yogi Ramaiah just Kriya Kundalini Pranayama, which is just one of preliminary techniques. And actually, another day we already discussed this, that even if you take Kriya Kundalini Pranayama or any other kind of meditation, if you just practice it every day, it will be huge spiritual progress. Sometimes it's a tricky question, which is, let us practice more advanced techniques of meditation. But that's not the point. The point is, even if you take so-called simple technique, but if you're able to manage your time, your priorities, and practice it every day, you will benefit. You will grow spiritually. So that's the reason why always the huge question for the people who are learning Kriya Yoga from me, okay, must we practice all 18 techniques? Or may we choose just one or two of them? And the point is that I'm very happy that some people who are learning Kriya Yoga from me, they really practice all 18 techniques. But it's not easy job because, like, just imagine 18 huge techniques, not easy. But some people just pick up one or two, but practice it every day, and then, wonderful things happen. So it means we have to be not greedy, not to wish more, but to go into the, into the source of our being, and that is possible just if you take one or two techniques.